Hello, folks. Welcome to Cinema Alley Encore with your host James Howe and Chris Cup. Chris, how are you doing, buddy?
Tired,
Tired? I mean, we had
tired.
like one hell of a fucking night and everything that we're
Yeah,
gonna get into. I ended up uploading it almost close to midnight. Our video, quick thoughts on Godzilla Minus One, and I guess if to say people, we got like a really good positive feedback to that video. Like
yeah.
when I woke up to it, I was all like, "Ah, dude, it's all like I just realized the time zone that I just pretty much uploaded this. It's like no one's gonna see this until the early morning." I wake up and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay, well, there were people interested enough in the watching it."
Yeah.
Um, that's gonna be one of the many things we're gonna cover here on this short encore and this final encore. With that being explained, the future of this series. So, me and Chris have been talking. I've always wanted to sit there and do shorter content, even though I always love longer content. But it always sit there seems like shorter content seems to be a little bit more easier for our audience um, to consume. You know, not everyone has time to sit down and watch a 1 hour video or close to a 2 hour video of just guys talking about movies. I mean, like
Yeah.
if we probably did some kind of charity event for it, then yeah, maybe. Um,
I
yeah,
mean, it also depends. It's just like,
it depends on what we're
the,
talking about and if it
yeah,
gauges worth an hour. Uh, so we're restructuring the show. We we're still trying to figure out what we're gonna do, but Chris actually brought up a really good idea of wanting to do film analysis videos for the channel. Something like a big project that I actually thought I was like, oh, you know, like that's actually that's a pretty good idea. So if we do actually keep the title of Encore, it'll be like a quarterly video. So it'll give us at least 3 months to deliver you guys some really good product on whatever movie that we're covering, or
yeah.
maybe a director's body of work. You know, uh,
I mean,
it could be
it could be
anything.
also just like we could use the name as an umbrella, like for smaller videos. Like they could be a film analysis, they could be short reviews, or just quick reactions of a movie we just saw and just giving our two thoughts on what's going on, or maybe just like a little news update on something
Yeah,
short and to the point, and keep the main show as basically the podcast format.
exactly. And apparently, again, you guys enjoyed the quick thoughts, the non spoiler review for Godzilla Minus One. Like people enjoyed it, so it's like, you know what, we have something, Chris. We have something,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
that's like the
I
quickest I've ever cut something. And then I was all like, oh, I gotta make a thumbnail. Oh shit, and
yeah,
everything, and now like all in my feed, it's all showing me like quick thoughts of Godzilla Minus One, or like just the movies that have come out this year.
yeah,
Um,
just stuff that's like more trendy and more like current, just
yeah.
to get people interested in what we're doing.
Chris is trying to get me on the trendy bandwagon. I'm sorry, I'm such an old soul. It's all like I'd much rather
Well,
talk about movies from the 1930s.
that's what the film essays can be for, the
Yeah.
more in-depth stuff that we can
So
go, like, when people have the time, like, oh, there's a hour long episode on Hitchcock or something, or we can talk about the just old noir films, or we can talk about old horror movies and doing like in-depth pieces on those eras and
yeah,
maybe their directors. Just something that we can do a little bit more homework on and put a little bit more love into.
exactly. Which hopefully you guys will appreciate and everything. I will sit there and say I actually do like the encore format that what we created. I think we actually did a really good job, and I'm not like disappointed that we're kind of ending encore, because in a sense, like if you guys have shown interest in loving the B show, that we're like, well, you know what, we can easily just throw that format into the A show. We can tighten our work on there. So yeah, that's that's pretty much it for the future of Encore. It'll live on through Cinema Alley, or as Alleykin's called, Back Alley Cinema. Again,
Yeah.
She made it sound so shady. It's all like Jesus Christ.
I got
Oh my
some
god.
nickel shells back there, sweetheart.
I love Ali so much. Um, so moving on to our first topic at hand. So of course last night we did a non-spoiler review, kind of quick thoughts on Godzilla Minus One. So I kind of figured, you know what, the spoiler review, we can definitely sit there and talk this. At least then, uh, this will come out next week as we're recording on Monday. So it would be almost like kind of almost like a 2 week gap in between. So it's okay to sit there and talk spoilers and get a little bit more in depth into it. So
And
Chris, I want you to take this ahead.
oh my
What did
god,
you think of Godzilla Minus One?
it was so hard last night not saying spoilers. I just had to catch myself on a couple things.
I know because I saw the recording and you're just like you're just
Ah,
stressing and it's oh my
I
god.
just want to say so many things, but I'm like, oh wait, nope, we're not saying spoilers yet. But no, it was like honestly, rewatching this movie, it made me. It felt like the original Godzilla movie and Godzilla Raids Again, like just using kind of those plot points because Godzilla Raids Again focuses on like pilots like and their plan to like take down Godzilla, and Japan's plan like, okay, what are we gonna do? Godzilla's back, and just Japan like trying to figure out what to do about this thing because we already used the oxygen destroyer and we can't use the oxygen destroyer again because Serizawa died in the first one and he took all the secrets with him. So like it was really nice to see just like this film going back to the World War II era and seeing the devastation of like that war it had on the people and like how callous it treated its citizens and its
Mm-hmm.
people and just like the design of Godzilla was so cool. I'm gonna
This Godzilla was super personal against the
yeah
humans. Like we've always seen Godzilla, like we always kind of wonder, like, oh, did Godzilla ever step on someone? Even in like in the buddy up movies where like he's the good guy, even though
yeah
some of Toho kind of fixed that. Like when you had more monsters, you very rarely ever saw them fight in the city. They went and they fought out in the wilderness because it was just easier to keep up. This, oh well, did Godzilla ever kill anyone? It's like, well, you could say the same thing. What if there was some hermit out there in his nice little shack, and then all of a sudden it's Godzilla versus Gigan and everything,
bitches.
and he's like, "Oh my god, thank God Godzilla and Gigan did not step on my house." And then bam, here comes
Yeah.
Jet Jaguar, and it's like, "God damn it!"
Yeah.
Some giant Ultraman ripoff has just completely stomped my hut.
Exactly. It's just like it was so cool to see like Godzilla being a monster,
Mm-hmm.
destroying stuff, and just the like toll he can take, and like the use of his atomic breath was such a like tense moment. Like they
Oh
made
yeah,
that like, oh shit, you saw what happens when he uses that in the sea. Now you saw the devastation he can cause in a city, and just how it had that imagery of World War II H bomb being dropped on the city, and it had a lot of similar imagery of the photos that was dropped on like what was it, Hiroshima and
Hiroshima and
Nagasaki.
Nagasaki. Yeah.
Yeah, they used a lot of the same imagery in this film for like what happens when an H bomb is dropped in a city like that and like the devastation it could cause those people. And the main character that we follow is a World War II soldier kamikaze pilot who was supposed to die but didn't like want to sacrifice his life for a war that he already knew was over.
Mm-hmm.
And just like coming back to his hometown, the people that spit on him for not doing his job, and they blame him for the loss of the war when like in the reality like it wouldn't have mattered. there's there's no reason he should have thrown his life away. And
Yeah.
it was great. It was a great character driven story. Like
Mm-hmm.
you see like the soldier dealing with PTSD of the war and seeing Godzilla, and he's constantly trying to fight the urge that he's really dead. Like the fact that he survived, he's got that survivor's guilt
Yeah.
hammered down into him, and it is so hard for him to overcome that. And he's just like ready to die towards the end.
D-
and I love this movie so much.
it definitely, like, when I told Chris, and we'll get to this segment later when we wrap up Big G. It immediately jumped into my top 5 favorite Godzilla movies. It
Oh yeah,
immediately it jumped right in there. It did so good. Um, yeah, like, talking about the human element, there's been a few Godzilla movies where you'll get like a really good, human drama put into it. Obviously, Gojira had a really good one with Serizawa and the struggle that he had, where we are being attacked by the child of the atomic bomb, by a monster born from it, and
yeah,
it's the fact that humanity had to make another bomb of some sorts to beat it. But at the same time, if this thing would have gotten into any other hands, it had done far worse damage. And you actually see that echo quite a bit sometimes in some of the other Godzilla movies. If it's talking about, like, the dangers of nuclear radiation and nuclear war, or if you're a fan of Godzilla versus Smog Monster, and you're all about the, we need to take care of the environment. Um,
yeah,
that one's the unsung. Like, I think it's only shit on because the monster is legit just like a giant tar monster
yeah,
and everything. But like, it evolved. It evolved. Like, it started like as a weird alien UFO and everything, because I think it was alien at first and it just mixed in with our pollution, and then it turned
yeah.
into this tar monster. So there are, like, not every Godzilla movie has like one hell of a really good impactful message. Um, but like stuff like Minus One and Gojira, and I forgot what was the name of the other monster, the one that I called the tar monster. Uh,
Yeah, no, I forgot. It was like hydrogen or something. Or
something like that. But either way, those had like really really
yeah,
good stories, and they had um they had like a really good human drama and a really good message to leave behind. And I think this film like knocked it out of the park. Um, and it was funny because it was made on the same budget of, like, Shin Godzilla. It was like, converted to US dollars, it was $15 million.
yeah. We'll have
And
to do an episode of like what is happening to U.S. dollars, like movies, like the budget in those movies, like because
I
it's
just
just
think it's
there's no
just paying for the
excuse.
crew. Well,
There's
like,
just
when
I
you
don't
look
know.
at it, when 2014 came out, Bryan Cranston had just came off of doing Breaking Bad, so I'm pretty sure he was not a cheap actor to buy. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I guess, but like, man, it's just the visual effects. Like, there should be like no excuse. Like, you should give the visual
I
effects team way more time to do what they need to do,
I still
and
feel
like
like
whatever.
Minus One was more practical, though. Like they did have a CGI Godzilla, but they they
Like,
had they had some practicals that did super super well. That I think is what saved them the money on.
was it? Did you send me the video on the Godzilla effects or?
If I did, God, like, you're asking the wrong person with memory right
Okay,
now.
because I watched a video. I thought you sent it to me last night. I'm so tired, but I watched the video. It was like I think it was I don't know if it was the corridor crew, but like they were talking about how they were talking with the director of Minus One, and like a lot of the shots in the ocean for Minus One were like digital shots. Like that was all just it was all mixed with practical and digital, and all the shots with Godzilla in the ocean, and that was all like so many gigs of data. I think it was like they said like 500 terabytes or something of of
Yeah,
data, just like to get all that on screen. And
you could definitely tell what was like probably like a CGI'd water compared to
yeah,
like what was the real water. Mostly because my dumbass, I'm just trying to enjoy the movie, but like towards the end when they're doing the final showdown with Godzilla, and I'm seeing the battle cruisers hitting the water. I've seen
yeah,
enough classic films, like war picture films, that when you see it, you always see the water, bounce off the boat and
yeah,
everything. This one didn't. It didn't clash with the boat and everything. Like it
But it
did in
still
the
looked
far.
good.
It did in the far off shots, but when you did like the close ups where it was supposed to be, you were supposed to focus on the human drama and everything,
Yeah,
but your eye kind of just like kind of like let's look around the whole entire frame, and you kind of
yeah,
like see that, and it's all like it's passable. It's passable at best and everything because it's like, oh, what's the angle? Maybe you're not really seeing it. It could that could have been all practical. It could be and everything,
yeah,
but still, like the human drama, um, it was again, it was like what I was telling Chris last night. This is Jaws. Japan just made
yeah.
its version of Jaws. You have these four men together bonding, and then when the love interest kind of takes a break in the movie after what we think she almost gets obliterated from the not the nasty side but still a bad side of the atomic blast from Godzilla and everything, and you're like, oh my god, they just did not kill her, you know
Yeah,
like that was like the one character, Noriko, I think that was her name.
yeah,
um
Nordico. Yeah,
I was like, no, no, she just
yeah.
shoved our hero out the way into an alleyway, and
That was a
bam,
gut
she just goes,
punch.
and I was like, oh fuck no. And then that's when I could start hearing the sobbing in the theater when I heard the chick a seat over from me like just sobbing, and it's all like, oh my god, I'm in a Godzilla movie where people are crying. And I think there was
And
one
it's
dude
just
that was
like,
crying too, but I think he was just coughing, and so he had to
yeah,
like
he was
just
having a
leave.
coughing fit. For some
Yeah,
reason, I thought he was laughing, and I I was like, "This is not a moment to laugh. What
yeah,
are you
yeah,
doing?"
I was all like, what the hell, like.
He got up and finished his coughing fit like
Yeah, thank God,
towards the
thank
bottom of
God,
the
because
theater.
I know some people they just stay there, and it's like, God, like let it out, man, let it out. At least then,
Yeah,
like, but watching that scene, it was a gut punch, and then watching the four men essentially take care of Akiko, which again is like the most adorable kid in all of kaiju cinema,
she's like,
like.
eh,
Eh,
the crying part.
it's like you just want to
That
give her like
kinda,
a big hug. And it's like
yeah,
it's okay. It's like your dad's not gonna die, and
just like it reminded me of like, oh, a child actor kind of just like crying, like crying on cue, and
but like still like to me it pulled at the strings and everything. I was
yeah,
like, oh, and then like I kind of got like a little bit of a feel of like Three Men and Baby and everything. So
yeah,
it's like Noriko's not here anymore. So now it's these four men taking care, and then you have the neighbor, which, you know, like I know we're jumping around so much, but
yeah. The
there's
neighbor that spits on him in the beginning and just
yeah,
like
and now it's
you're
like
because
she's completely okay with him. She's seen that he's uh he may have dishonored himself during the military, but he is constantly seeking redemption, and
yeah,
at first trying to be almost like a father, which at first he rejects completely. Is like, I'm
yeah,
not your
don't call me
daddy.
dad.
and it's all like, no, this child looks at you as father, and then as Noriko as mother, because you guys took care of her whenever she lost her parents in the air raids.
Yeah,
And
and it's just a sweet moment, like how a family is formed. Like
yes,
everyone has lost someone, and yet they have their own little makeshift family. The orphan baby, the orphan daughter, and the orphan son, and the orphan mother, or the mother who lost her children next
her
door.
yeah.
Yeah,
And like going back to like Spielberg and everything, so like the opening when our hero is getting his plane checked, and the mechanic is all like, oh, there's nothing wrong with it. He's like, are you
yeah,
insinuating something, that like I didn't want to sit there and essentially die, for my country. And that's also a thing too that pops up quite a bit in this movie. This isn't like really like a promote Japan military. This is more about the actual people. How did like the people really suffered uh going into
yeah,
this film, and that not everyone actually really wanted to participate, or maybe they set their thought like, nah, this isn't, it's like, we will defend our country, but we don't really probably defend the reasons why the politicians are doing it.
yeah.
They do it for, well, we got to protect our people, like.
There's the sense of patriotism from the one kid who is on the boat with them. He's like, man, I wish the war had lasted longer. And the main
Yeah, so
character
that
just
he could
grabs him. Is like,
join.
no, you do not. Like, do
Yeah.
not mean that. And just
Um,
like everyone who has served is like,
they
uh,
carry their own demons with it.
yeah, they know the price of war and how senseless it is, and how terrible it is. And there's just that young naive kid who's just like, man, I wanted to like fight. I wish I could have defended my country. And
Yeah.
towards the end, when they're like telling him to stay behind from the final climactic battle with Godzilla, he's like pleading with him, like, please take me with you, please take me with you.
He's
And
very
it's just,
eager to uh, join the Brotherhood in a sense. Even though technically he is part of the Brotherhood, it's just those guys do not want him to carry what they carry. You know,
yeah,
it's not that they don't think that he can sit there and he can do it. It's the fact
it's
of
just
we
there's no need
see
for
what
him to do it.
happens to a lot of eager people that want to do this,
Yeah,
and it's they just don't want to sit there, and they don't want to handle that, you know. They saw friends and allies that they've lost throughout this war, um and they just do not want, for one, they don't want to lose him because they love and care about him, but also two, they don't want him to suffer like they do.
yeah.
um
And
and
the
going back to the beginning with Spielberg and everything, when Godzilla does pop up on the island, I love that he's like a almost like a myth, or like an
yeah,
urban legend. And
that's how it was in the very first one. They were researching like what was going on, and they went to this island, and the people talked about Godzilla as a
yeah,
myth that like comes around every once in a while, and then you have that iconic shot of him coming over the mountain, and you just see this giant, terrifying monster
yeah.
like walking over the mountain and stuff, and it's a nice little callback
Mm-hmm.
from the very first Godzilla movie, and just like the all the callbacks, especially the train sequence when
Yeah,
she's
where he's
Nori,
like holding the
yeah,
train in his mouth, and
yeah,
that
like
one
that
I
was an
was super
awesome little
scared.
callback.
I was
Yeah,
super scared whenever it got to that point, because when I was there, I was like, "Oh, don't you fucking drop this! Don't you fucking drop her!" and everything. But
Precious cargo.
I know we keep jumping forward, but Jurassic Park, the opening is Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
Like, if you're a huge
yeah,
Spielberg fan with Jaws, Jurassic Park, this is definitely something like that. Like, I think you would even call Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where it's like the military are trying to hush it all up and everything, but there is an actual community of people that have seen what Godzilla can do, and they come together to handle, even though like they don't look at it as handle the threat and Close Encounters, but they want to see what the essentially what the military and government are trying to hide, where these
yeah.
people, they saw what it is and they want to come together. It's the camaraderie and all of that. And I could sit there and say, really, in this movie, they don't really do a huge, like, you know, oh, this is exactly what we get when we have nuclear weapons. Like, we don't really have a character that is like, as long as nuclear weapons exist, there will always be another Godzilla. We did not get that. But what we kind of got more was that we can stay strong as long as that we're together. You
Yeah.
it's not like they took out the metaphor for the atomic bomb, because obviously every time Godzilla shot his atomic breath, which again is
Yeah,
amazing visual,
yeah,
and then when he shoots it out and then boom, it legit looks like another atomic bomb, and then you see the aftermath.
yeah.
But in
The
the
mushroom cloud
end,
in the distance and all that.
in
Yeah,
the end, it was all about, you know, countrymen coming together to defend one another and
yeah,
to defend their families and their country. Because at a certain point, you know, most of these ex-Navy men that come into the final showdown to help out, um, they know that the military is not going to back them up. And I like how in the story that's like, well, you know what, something like Godzilla, this is a big world event. Where is the U.S.? And then they show that, well, the U.S. is tied up in the Cold War now, starting up with the
yeah.
Soviets, and that
They can't bring their ships too close, or else the Soviets will get nervous and could
yeah.
trigger another war.
So it makes Japan feel even more isolated. Like, in all
Yeah,
honesty, this film is more about the people and not really about, you know, the warnings of atomic, like, yeah, that's the outline of it, but to me, I still feel like the meat of this story is the people. What did the people go through? Like, I'm pretty sure, uh, there are war picture films out there that, for like the US that aren't all like military propaganda, but they actually really do talk about what the actual men have gone through and what they've suffered. I feel like we get that a lot more with Vietnam films, where there is a brotherhood, but they talk more about, well, this is actually how the war affected the human being, not the patriotism. But they all did it because of patriotism, and this is what that they were rewarded, like Deer Hunter and all that. So stuff like that. I'm not comparing this film to Deer Hunter, but it's definitely a really good human drama. It's probably really the best human drama, right next to the original Gojira. I can't
Yeah.
really think of any other Godzilla film that has that good. Not even Shin Godzilla.
I mean, there was there are a couple I could think of like off the top of my head, just like in the depending on what era
Yeah,
you're looking at. But
Heisei did really good with trying to make human characters like iconic and
yeah,
everything. But they were exploring other stuff in the scientific realm at that time as well. But yeah, I think we stuck a little bit too long on this spoiler review. So I want to sit there and jump into like the real fun and games of this. What is your top 5 favorite Godzilla movies?
okay. So, Ibra Horror of the Deep. If you're not familiar with that one,
Oh,
it's a early Showa movie.
are
It's
you going by 5 to
basically
1?
what do you mean?
Like, are you
No,
counting down from 5 to 1, or are
I mean
these not in any
I
order?
guess we can because they just get better as I go down. They
Okay.
just get more great.
Okay.
I feel like that's one that people don't really talk about a lot. It's probably one that falls under the radar because it does the I don't think it has Godzilla in the title, but Godzilla is in the
He's like
movie,
not
and
even
it
really
follows
much in
a
the movie. Yeah.
yeah. But the group of human characters that are on this island, that they discover some uh, evil group that are doing some shady stuff, and they find Godzilla, and the only way to get off the island to defeat the monster that's keeping them there is the lobster monster off in the sea, is to reawaken Godzilla so he can go fight that monster. Uh, it was a really great film, and moving on to well, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, the first Showa film. That one will always have a special place in my heart because of just the introduction of Godzilla, and like it keeps the fun of having an alien subplot.
Mm-hmm.
Just these aliens are coming down to Earth to like defeat Godzilla and uh, take over Japan.
And they use the
Uh,
actual original skeleton, I believe, of the first Godzilla, right? That's the one
I
where they use the
don't
skeleton?
I don't think it was that one. I think that was done until the Millennium movies, because there is a subplot in Godzilla Tokyo SOS where the little twin fairies that on
From
Infant Island,
Mothra. Yeah.
yeah, they tell uh, one of the original characters from the original Mothra movie, like, hey, you have to tell them to stop using this Mecha Godzilla, or else because it'll upset like the soul of Godzilla, and he's supposed to be resting at peace, and
Hmm.
you're not. You doing that will upset that. Uh, but it's still a cool reveal. Like, oh, Godzilla's gone crazy, and everyone's thinking, why is Godzilla going crazy? And it's Mecha Godzilla. uh, Probably the next one is Godzilla versus Ghidorah in the Heisei era. It's one of the really cool films where it just introduces time travel, cyber Mecha Ghidorah.
Mecha
Uh,
King Ghidorah.
yeah, Mecha King Ghidorah. Uh, that one just is a fun film. I love all the Heisei era. I think that's the best era, just because it has like that thread
Well,
line
they had
of
more continuity with it, even though
yeah.
some of it, it's like, you're kind
I
of.
mean, they introduced like baby Godzilla Jr., and
I
like
like the baby
he
Ghidorahs
grows.
before they got formed into like the three
Oh
headed.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I know over in Japan they probably have like an abundance of like little Chible, Ghidorahs before They had that, and
Yeah,
I kind of really wish that that would get sent here. I would own one of those. I would be a proud owner of that. It's like,
if they replace the dogs in the future or something like that. Uh, but I think the next one it will probably be Mecha Godzilla in the Millennium series. uh,
yeah, that was the
just because,
Kyuru. That's what they called them.
uh, yeah, they with the ice blasting weapon on his
Yeah,
chest, and I really love the human story of that one because it follows a pilot who survived Godzilla's reemergence, and everyone kind of like gives her shit for like surviving and not able to like fire on Godzilla or something. It's kind of the same plot thread that we see in Godzilla Minus One, and she's working really hard to like prove that she can take down Godzilla and restore her honor. And but she it follows also like the scientist who builds Mecha Godzilla and his daughter. There's this really cute moment where the daughter is like, "Why can't you just take me to work with you?" Like one of those players, like the baseball players who take their daughter to the dugout and let them hang out. And the scientist is like, "That's silly. They wouldn't let me do that." And then they come to visit him at the door right after that. He's like, "I can't accept the job. I can't leave my daughter alone." And they're like, "Well, why don't you just take her to the lavatory and like those baseball players do, taking their daughters to the dugout?" And he's like, "What?" It's just a silly little moment like that. I just love those kind of things. Probably number one is Godzilla Minus One. Honestly, just because
really?
it, yeah, honestly, because I I know I should probably be putting like Godzilla King of the Monsters or something from the Legendary series, but honestly,
Oh,
this
okay.
felt like the most Godzilla movie I have felt in a while. Because if you just rewatching all the old Showa and Heisei era Godzilla movies, this felt like the most Godzilla movie I've seen in forever.
At
That's
least from
like,
the American market, yeah.
yeah, like the American Godzilla movies, they're okay to me, but they don't like they don't have that spirit of the Toho Godzilla movies, you
Yeah.
know. And this one it had callbacks to both the Showa and Heisei era Godzillas, with Godzilla being a prehistoric monster on an island, and him being turned into, to the radioactive monster we know in the
Yeah.
film, and just the design of Godzilla is so on point and terrifying looking, and he's just so dangerous, and like he just looks amazing. I love how it's just like an amalgamation of all the best characteristics of
Yeah.
Godzilla we've seen. And
Also, too, King of the
I
Monsters had the best like show of Ghidorah. I think like that was even a better design than the Toho's Ghidorah
oh yeah,
and everything. Especially like anytime that like the electricity would come out or just the
yeah,
way it would fight, it's like, oh, this is like very primal. It's very
yeah,
very
definitely.
primal.
King of the Monsters is the best legendary Godzilla movie, I think. But
I
honestly,
agree. I
Godzilla
agree.
Minus One, that was like what I expect out of a Godzilla movie. You know,
Yeah.
it just the pacing was great, the storytelling was awesome, and like you love the characters, and you just love the destruction that Godzilla causes.
Yeah.
It all works.
So I'm gonna quickly bullet through my top 5 G films, so then we can move on to our Christmas vacation. So at number 5, I got Godzilla versus Biollante. I love the mixture of spiritualism with science, and again, it has like this crazy like spy subplot, which like it so easily gets wrapped up like towards the end where obviously someone loved James Bond, and so they essentially just did that. But you look at the whole like, well, it's the daughter of the scientist that is growing plant life from G cells, and the daughter dies, so her spirit goes into this plant, and it's actually like a very beautiful plant creature at the beginning. And then the moment that
Yeah,
Godzilla kind of destroys it, and then all of a sudden it's like resurrection. It's like the ultimate in most Japanese RPG games where like, oh, I finally beat the boss, and then it's all like stage 2, and then bam, the boss looks even more menacing, and it's twice the size. That it's all like, dude, this like does not make sense anatomically correct whatsoever. It's like big flower turns into this gigantic original creature from the Heisei era. It's like the most original one, right next to Batra. I enjoy Batra
yeah.
from that, but I think
Godzilla versus
Biollante
Mothra.
does not get enough love and respect. It's a really good movie.
I've always loved the poster of that, where it's just like it's Godzilla standing in front of Biollante, and it's just like a giant like flower kind of looking
Yeah.
thing. It kind of looks like
Also, too, it's one of the very
basically
few
fire.
female monsters too, because you have Mothra, you have Biollante, and you have Megaguirus. Megaguirus is another unsung female kaiju.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the Dragonfly one.
Yes. That had so much
Yes.
good potential, and they fucking bombed on that one. Number 4, Godzilla Minus One. Like, it was an immediate top 5 for me. Uh, Number 3, Godzilla versus Destroyer. Like, the end of the Heisei era. That one, I just thought, like, it had like really great ideas to have the humans battle alongside with Godzilla against his deadliest enemy, right next to
Yeah.
Ghidorah. Um, and I kind of like that a little sidestep here into Gamera. They did the same thing with Gamera versus Legion, and I think they capitalized and made that far better. So they took the concept of both the humans working with the kaiju, the good kaiju, against the far evil kaiju and everything, and like Gamera versus Legion was like the great successor to that Godzilla movie. So I think that's why I kind of hold Destroya up there in the top 3. It's because it also added to one of my favorite Gamera movies ever.
It's also a really solid monster movie. With just like
Oh
the
yeah,
destroy of creatures that are going around killing people and eating people. And there's that one sequence where it's trying to get I think the female lead in the car, and she's like
oh
trying to
yeah.
fight it off, and it's trying to get in there and get
It's
her.
like trying to
It's
pry it.
really
It's like watching like a mutated what is it like not a crab, but yeah, like kind of almost like a crab creature, like a mutated
yeah.
crab, just try to cut through like a can of sardines just to get the good shit. Like there's that. And this one I hold it close to my heart because it's the my number 2 is what got me into Godzilla at such an early age, but it's King Kong versus Godzilla. You know, like
The OG
the
show.
OG Showa, the one that
Oh,
came out
okay.
after Raids Again, because it was America versus Japan, in a sense,
Yeah.
but also too it definitely helped popularize Monster versus Monster. Even though you could give it that Raids Again did the Monster versus Monster first, yes,
Yeah,
but
they did that in the beginning. It was like just him fighting a monster in the beginning, and that
yeah,
was it. Yeah,
and then like when you look at King Kong versus Godzilla, it's like for one, just watching two grown men in suits just tear the shit out of Japan, especially at like one castle, and it's all like those guys had so much fun. Even though it was hot as balls probably in those suits, those guys had so much fun just
yeah,
ripping the shit. And it's such a fun movie that even watching it as an adult, you feel like a kid again. It rekindles that spirit of why we watch monster movies. It's we love the destruction. We just love the chaos in it.
yeah.
And then of course, number 1 is Gojira, not King of the Monsters,
The,
but the original
the,
Gojira. Uh,
the original Godzilla.
yeah,
I thought I had it up here.
I
That's
have it
weird.
in storage too because I have the copy that gives me the original Gojira, and then the Americanized King of the Monsters version with oh my god, I can't believe I forgot his name. But he popped in, I think, in one of the '90s Godzilla. Yeah, he popped out. Raymond Burr. He popped up, I think, in Godzilla '89, which was the Godzilla
Yeah, yeah.
Godzilla Returns and
I
everything.
think he showed up in Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla 2 in the Heisei era. I think he was just that
I
old man that.
I think he played
Yeah,
one of the. Didn't he play one of the aliens?
I thought he was playing the same character, but like 30 years later, just overseeing the Godzilla
Yeah,
Mecha Godzilla project.
it could have been that,
But
but yeah, the original Gojira, the one that started it all, that one's still number 1. It's a dark film. I know like a bunch of people who like when they love Godzilla, not many of them kind of go to the original Gojira because of just how dark it is. It's like, but you
yeah,
got to appreciate just where the origin and where everything lied for that film, and then just how it built across. Because Minus One is like the 33rd Godzilla film, and then you got Roland Emmerich's, and
yeah.
then you
It's the
have
30th
from the
Toho
MonsterVerse, you
Godzilla.
have
Yeah,
Godzilla, you have Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then you have I guess you would consider King Kong versus or Godzilla versus King
God,
Kong, and then now the New Empire. That's what 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's like now like a total of 38 Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
I don't know if you really want to recount the Americanized version of Gojira. I don't know if they
Uh,
count that as its own individual, even though it's the same
Toho
one as
doesn't.
Gojira. Yeah, Toho doesn't. So yeah, it's like 38. We're almost close to 40. For Godzilla movies, it's the longest
Yeah.
franchise that has rebooted itself countless times, and the fans are still there to support it. It's there's more of those movies than there are James Bond.
Yeah. I think there are only 25 James Bond movies.
Yeah,
Or
and
26?
yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
let's just hope that Fast and the Furious and Mission Impossible don't reach that point. You know, like to me, I
Yeah.
think the James Bond, the Godzilla movies should be the only film franchises that can exceed past 30 movies and people will still love them. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's like that's it for our Godzilla thing. I think it's time to transition to Christmas. Even though Godzilla Minus One was an early Christmas gift, and I did get a little early Christmas gift from my co-host Chris Cup, where I actually finally got a Blu-ray copy of Nosferatu by FW Murnau. It is the 2-disc deluxe remastered edition. Thank you so much again for this. I'm mostly going to watch this now for the special features, even though I can watch it anywhere on the internet because of public
Yeah.
domain.
But
Now all I got
that's
to
when you
do is
get the
get the
Blu-rays for
Criterion.
yourselves.
Yeah,
Special features.
yeah. Now to get the Criterion collection, because you got to get those special Criterion documentaries.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Christmas Vacation, 1989, probably is the best National Lampoon vacation film. I would sit there and say so. Like I enjoyed the first one, but to me, anytime that when people bring up National Lampoon's vacation movies, I always think of Christmas. Chris, we're here to share a few of our favorite segments from it. Like, so why don't you take us off? What is one of your favorite segments? We'll do two. We'll do two because we're already running pretty late. We're like already at
Okay.
almost close to the 42-minute line. Godzilla completely conquered this episode. So we'll do two segments to not have this episode be too long. What's your first segment that you would
That
love
I
to
mean,
share?
the like the best parts are kind of like in the beginning there for me, like when he's going out with the family to get the tree and he's doing the getting in a road rage race with the truck and the giant 18 wheeler carrying the logs and he gets his family trapped underneath the truck. I didn't do this on purpose.
Yeah,
Just like
like that was
you're gonna kill
anxiety
your family.
filled. I feel like that would be me.
Just, that and probably the part where the cat gets electrocuted. It's probably horrible, but like,
Oh my god. Yeah.
just like uh, cousin Eddie is just like, well, that cat had 9 lives. He just ran
Yeah,
off.
he just ran right through him and it was like, man.
Just like
That
moments
was the
like
reason
that.
the tree caught on fire. No, that was not the reason
No,
the tree caught on
that
fire.
comes later.
That comes later and everything. But I think
Yeah,
the recliner chair is also what got ruined when the cat got fried
yeah,
and
they're breaking
everything.
it out
Yeah.
to the on to be thrown away. But yeah, no, it's probably two like crazy moments for me. There's so many others, like just the
Hmm.
things that the poor neighbors go through. The shitty couple, I guess, that lives next door that hate
Yeah.
Clark Griswold.
Like like
But
like they're just a couple of Scrooges, but it seems like this holiday, like they're just in it to just for what small moments we see, they do anything to just give a really good quick 1-2 punch to Griswold, and it's
yeah,
like, man, let the man enjoy his holiday. This man is working. It's supposed to be a Christmas vacation, and this man is working overtime to deliver
yeah,
the best Christmas for his family. Um,
yep.
outside of some of the psychotic breakdowns he has, like that man is Father of the Year. Um,
And that's what I love about Clark Griswold. All the vacation movies, you just like see he's on the brink of madness because he's just wanting everything to go just fine, and
yeah.
it's all slowly crumbles.
Uh, what was it? One of my favorite ones from the beginning. It's the whole scene where he's trying to set up the Christmas lights, and
Yeah,
for one, just oh my god, that's such a really bad fire hazard. The way how he has everything set up and the plugs and everything, and
Yeah.
You know, the moment that he has his family out and the family's like, oh, okay, come on, like let's look at the lights. And in the moment he's all like, you know, Merry Christmas, and he plugs it in, and it's like, what the fuck? And it's like he's like trying to get it all to work, and um in the moment that he's trying to figure like, oh my god, it's working, and they're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it's so bright, it's so beautiful, and then the neighbors are being blinded, and they're like in bed super early.
Well, they got done with their workout and they were gonna go do some stuff. That's
Yeah.
why they were turning in a little early for the night there.
But like even then though, like I think that they were like actually sleeping, and like the light, even though no, they did not have the curtains closed and everything, but they had the curtains open, and the bright lights just from the crazy, you know, Christmas setup that Griswold has, which again is fucking
Yeah.
beautiful. And I always love people who go that far in Christmas, but then also like the money person in me is all like, oh shit, it's like they can only enjoy this for like a few minutes, and then they have to unplug everything because of the fucking high ass electric bill that
Yeah.
causes. Like I'm pretty sure the electric company's like, yes, do all your elaborate stuff, yes, money, 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 like we don't have to do anything, just push that bill up. And but Clark outdoes himself, you know, with the Santa and everything. And then of course, you know, like what was it, I don't even think he really even gets to enjoy the light. I don't even think, not until like the
No.
very end and everything, because every time he went outside and everything, the light went off, and it's like, oh no, 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 no,
Someone
but
kept
do what you
flipping the
just did
switch
again.
inside.
Yeah. And it's all
Yeah.
like, at this point, if this was us, we'd have blown every fuse in the fucking house. Like the setup and everything. It's a wonderful, touching moment of, you know, I want to sit there and give my family something beautiful to show, and it's the stress of going under. I just want something to go fucking right for once, and you
Yeah.
know, in this day, because again, you know, like even whenever he goes and he gets the tree, and he's like, oh, this is perfect. It's like it's much too big. It's not gonna fit. And so, you know, he's like, okay, don't worry, I'll fix it. And the neighbors come in and they're all like, you know, hey Griswold, what are you gonna do with a tree, you know, that size? And he's like, bend over and I'll show you. And then, you know, he's
Don't
like,
talk to me
hey,
like that. I wasn't talking to
talk,
you.
yeah. And again, that was the chick from Seinfeld. I think
Yeah.
that's who he was talking to.
Julia Louis Dreyfus.
There you go, there you go. The new Nick
Yeah.
Fury for the MCU. Um,
Yeah.
I actually, if they do her well, I would actually love to have that. But back to Christmas Vacation. What's another segment that you truly enjoy?
Uh, okay, so it's not like haha laugh out loud funny, but I like when he gets stuck in the attic and
Oh,
he's just kind of like getting the projector set up and he's like just watching little old home movies of when he was a kid,
mm-hmm.
and that just that you get an insight into his character, and he's just a guy who wants to share the wonderful experience with his family that he had as a kid, and he's
Yeah.
trying so hard to do that, and it's so heartwarming. And then at the very end of that shot, someone opens the attic and he falls through because he's sitting on top of the freaking ladder
The
like an
ladder,
idiot.
and it's like, God. Again, that dude must have some really good fucking medical insurance, because the shit he gets put into
Yeah.
in this movie, it's all like, yeah, no, that was me. I'd be out for the holidays. That's it. I punch my card out. I'm going to go stay in bed. I'm going to watch Christmas movies. I'm going to enjoy my gingerbread and my fucking
Yeah.
coffee. Leave me the fuck alone as I
But
rest.
it
Yeah.
just shows like how much of a doofus he is sometimes. Like he's a well-meaning guy, but he's also just kind of like a little unhinged at some
Outside
points.
of the comedic moments, yeah, this film does have a lot of heart when it comes to shedding, especially Clark. Like it mostly focuses on Clark. It doesn't focus too much on anyone else, not even Rudy, which I did look it up. I was shocked to find out that it's Johnny Galecki and everything. He plays Rudy in this one. He plays the
Oh
son.
no,
Uh,
Russell.
Russell, there you go. But I don't
Russell.
know why I was thinking Rudy. Maybe I was thinking of the movie Rudy. But yeah, Russell and everything. Yeah, Johnny Galecki played him in this one, and it's like, oh, it's so funny how in '89, you know, he was doing this, he was doing Roseanne, you know, I think in the 90s, and then like years later, after like just disappearing, he would fucking be popping up on Big Bang Theory as like, you know, the lead. And it's all like, I love like discovering this man's career, and it's all like, this man has been a part of my life for this entire time, and I did not know, you know.
Yeah.
But you could tell like that smile that he has whenever they do the when Clark is looking at the lingerie and everything,
Yeah,
and like he's completely losing it. And then like Russell comes
the
over there, he's like, "Yeah, you can't see the line and everything," and he's like,
the
he looks at his son, he's like, "Oh shit!" And
just like anytime he interacts with a woman and it's a really beautiful woman and she's like just that clerk at the mall, it's just like she's gorgeous, she's like a supermodel, and
Nicoletta
he's just like
Scorsese,
trying to find the words to have a conversation with her, and he just keeps thinking of like her boobies and nipples, and it keeps
very nipply
it
out
keeps
there.
slipping out. It's just nippy, nippy, very nippy.
Yeah,
Just like that's another great moment, just like because he's always like on the brink of like adulterous thoughts, and like
and he even
because
mentions adultery. It's all like, you know,
yeah,
I was like, here for the adultery. I mean, it's like, oh my
yeah, my wife is
god.
gone. No, oh, not dead. She were divorced. Yeah, yeah, she's just gone. Just like
It's like the most
the,
horrible moment, like, yeah, to like look at it. It's like, God, this is like the worst husband in the world. He's like, he's a great father and everything, and God, terrible freaking husband. um
Ellen like Griswold puts up with so much. Like that woman is a trophy, just
Kind of
like
makes
a
you wonder how
treasure.
many packs of cigarettes she went through, because like obviously in the movie when she's like fucking smoking, she's like, it's Christmas and we're all a little miserable, and it's like, you know, Clark doesn't smoke, you don't see him smoke, but her, she's
Yeah.
fucking like
And then the
like
mom is like, "Ellen, are you smoking?" They're like,
yeah.
"No, mother." Like,
It's
damn it.
funny. It's like 89, and it's all like it's the elderly that are fucking complaining to the generation. You know,
Yeah,
it's all like, quit smoking. I was like, why? You used to smoke probably 6 packs a day dealing with my ass. And, this is probably the reason I smoke. I got a contact high and everything. So
yeah.
I've been a smoker ever since I was born. And
But yeah, that's
but
another great moment.
to wrap up with probably another uh, great segment, the complete mental breakdown towards the end, when, you know, he's been looking forward to Clark's been looking forward in the mail to get the Christmas bonus, just to find out that is it F. Murray Abraham? No, it's Bill Murray's
uh,
brother. It's Bill Murray's brother. I forgot what his first name is, but he ends up cheapening him on the Christmas bonus, and he gives him a Jelly of the Month club for a whole year. And for one, Chevy does an amazing job. First, like, oh my god, I'm so happy. And the moment he looks at it, and the family's all anticipation of, well, what is it? And then you completely just see just the spirit of him just die.
yeah,
And it's so well acted. Like, it's not, to me, I think, done to an overblown, but it's very much like those feelings that we all get when we anticipate something that, oh yes, we're definitely going to get it, and then it's the disappointment that just settles in. And you can just see in his eyes and everything, it's like his stomach is just rotting. You know, it's I wouldn't say it's a gut punch. This is like that rotting gut feeling. And then
how am I
you
gonna afford my pool?
exactly to you know, to fantasize about Nicolette Scorsese, you know, jumping in and coming out all, you know, slow, and you know, yeah.
Fast Times in Richmond High.
Pretty much. And what was it? Was that the early 80s, or was that the late 70s, I think, when that movie came
I think
out?
that was, I think that was 70s. That was
Yeah.
like American Graffiti era, I think.
American Graffiti era was the 50s, but yeah, that was made in the 70s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah,
Era
like,
films, I guess.
but watching that breakdown and completely understanding why he feels the way he does when he has that, you know, motherfucker, you know, holy shit, where's the Tylenol? It's completely, it's like we have all reached that point somewhere in the holidays where if it's either been family or just whatever is stressing us out in life, that you just want to blow up. And Clark is the best representation of just how everyone goes through the
Yeah,
holidays. And even those that
we
don't
all need
celebrate the
a,
holidays, it's that inner struggle. um
yeah, or can't afford to celebrate the holidays because you haven't had a job in 7 years. Cousin Eddie.
and but you know
Just
what, cousin Eddie, in this film. It's one of the few Randy Quaid roles that I truly treasure and love. Just too bad he's not like that in real life, it seems, because like every damn time I hear about him in the news, it's some outrageous bullshit. But his cousin Eddie, or is it brother Eddie? No, I think it's
I
his
think it's
cousin.
cousin Eddie.
Yeah, it's cousin
Yeah.
Eddie. He's the most lovable goof, and he always means well, even though it may come off very dumb or very rude or
Very
crude.
impolite and rude and
Yeah,
disrespectful, and
it's just who he is, but he loves his family just as much as Clark loves the family. And as much as Clark kind of is like, I can't stand you, cousin Eddie, but you know what? It's like, I understand you do this out of love. It's just your own funny way of doing it, and I really do enjoy. I enjoy that role for Randy Quaid. That and Independence Day, where he's like, "Hey guys, I'm back," and he does the self sacrificing. Um,
yeah,
so this is a bit late for a movie recommendation, but I kind of like feel like this film could be like the Nightmare Before Christmas kind of thing. But if you are looking for a similar film like this, Chris brought it up that it's actually a Thanksgiving film, and I was like, but if you really look at the story of it, you know, it can
Thanksgiving is just pre-Christmas.
yeah, it could easily be a Christmas film. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which was a John Hughes film. John Hughes produced, you know, uh, the National Lampoon Christmas Vacation. So it has the same touch. And even like, you can kind of look at Steve Martin's character as maybe a little bit more bittered version of Clark Griswold and everything. But through this movie, it's learning, to accept help during trying times, and also to help other people when they need you the most. I feel like this definitely, even though it's a Thanksgiving film, it definitely embodies some of the spirit of Christmas, when it's just be nice to your fellow man, be nice to them, always help them out when you can, even if they get on your nerves,
Yeah.
always just go out there to do your best to just be a better human being. And so I kind of think, you know what? I could easily watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles as a Christmas film. It can work either way, Thanksgiving, Christmas. So yeah, if you're looking for some movie recommendations outside of Godzilla Minus One and then those top five G-Man movies, um, you got National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation from us, and you got Planes,
Home
Trains, and
Alone.
Automobile. Oh yeah, Home Alone's another one. That was John Hughes too.
That's another
Uh,
John Hughes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Essential.
I'm actually, as we're recording this, by the time that this, I do believe, comes out, I think, I would have already covered Home Alone 1 and 2 on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/The Gothic Storyteller. I'll be actually covering that. And of course, the week that this come out, I'll be covering A Nightmare Before Christmas on Saturday on Twitch. We're hitting all the festive shit. We're doing really, really good. I definitely love what my community has hyped and picked for. I'm trying to figure out where the hell did we segue from this, Chris, into
Oh,
our final our final pitch where we talk about the future of the podcast. Oh, also, hopefully you guys enjoyed It's a Wonderful Life. That was another recommendation. Next week, we're actually covering the early drafts of Gremlins. Or I cover the
yeah.
early draft. Chris actually covers the actual finished product. And we did our back and forth, like, oh, this is what did differently. So, like, one half, I do believe, of the episode is the early draft, and then the other half is the Gremlins we all know and love. So that's actually coming. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, we have so
I
many
mean,
recommendations. There's so many really really good classics. Even if you're not a Christmas person, you don't celebrate Christmas or whatever. There's so many other holiday replacements, to really go for. You got Eight Crazy Nights for your Hanukkah.
yeah. If
There's
you're
not there's
Jewish, Eight Crazy Nights.
there's not that many Hanukkah movies, not to my knowledge, mainstream wise. But
Yeah.
I kind of felt like It's a Wonderful Life and Gremlins. Well, I can't say It's a Wonderful Life is an anti-Christmas movie because it really isn't. But those are like really good, replacements if you just want to, get through the holidays and watch some really really good, touching, human drama, or some really good comedy. Or if you want to sit there and watch some really dark, fucked up shit, you can watch Krampus. You can watch Silent Night, Deadly Night,
And if
Violent
you're in
Night.
for some action,
I
Die Hard. Start that
Yeah,
debate.
I think it's Violent Night. Is Violent Night the one with Santa Claus is going after the terrorists? That's Violent Night,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Well,
so
the I guess I guess they are terrorists in the attack in the mansion, trying to get the money and stuff
yeah,
from the rich people. Yeah,
yeah. There's that, and then there's like a new one that is essentially like a Die Hard film, but it's more Death Wish. It's called Silent Night.
that
With
Silent Night.
yeah,
John Woo and
John Woo. I keep forgetting his name,
directing.
but he plays Flag in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, he played RoboCop in the remake a few, like 10 years
Yeah,
ago
but
too.
yeah, he does
Yeah, I
like
can't
really
remember.
good, and it's funny they call it
Joel
Silent
Kinnaman,
Night. Joke, yeah,
I think.
there you go. That's
Yeah,
another one. So go see that in the theaters and everything. If you want some really good action for your Christmas, if that's there's so much that thankfully there is so much. You know, if you don't want to sit there and watch a Christmas movie, there's so many alternative Christmas movies for the holidays. But moving forward to the future of Cinema Alley, so we mentioned it kind of earlier on that we're going to actually borrow a lot now moving forward that the format of Encore, where we have certain topics at hand that lead up to the main topic of discussion. We're going to be borrowing that for the main show. Again, we've already recorded the first 3 episodes, so by the end of March, I believe, the latter half of March, that's when we're going to start recording again. Uh, that's when we're gonna start testing out this format because this format seems to be doing a lot better for Encore, and we really want to sit there and boost those Cinema Alley numbers and everything on YouTube. And that's the thing too. So we're moving solely to YouTube. We ended up taking down the Patreon because I kind of felt like we jumped the gun a little too early. So that is actually taken down. But season 2 and moving forward will not be on other podcasting platforms. It'll be solely on YouTube. I always sit there and find that, for one, YouTube is so much more easy to handle when it comes to podcasts and everything. There's so many other podcast listening places outside of movies, like oh shit, I just forgot one of the movie podcasts I listen to. I still listen to John Campea show. That's actually a really good movie podcast. John Campea is very, very informative. To me, I look at him as like that is like the high key of movie podcasting is the John Campea show. So John, if you somehow listen to this, like, I love your work, dude. Keep up the good work. And I like listen to a bunch of wrestling podcasts, and I love their formats and everything, like Storytime with Dutch Mantel and Franchise University. So I love what they do there, and I always feel, you know what, we can easily do that here. And I feel like we're far more welcome here compared to Spotify. I don't really know, like, what's the deal when it came to the other. Those numbers, they were strong at the beginning, and then they kind of fell flat. And it's like, but
I mean,
YouTube kept going. Like there were those pitfalls and everything, but
YouTube is more. It's better suited for creators that just want to get on there, and I think it's better if you want to build your audience YouTube wise. If we get a little bit bigger and we have a bigger audience, we might be able to branch out a little bit better more and have
yeah,
be more confident that we'll get an audience and sustain an audience on other platforms. But for right now, we're just going to stick to YouTube. Just,
YouTube does its best for home. To take one step forward, we have to take 2 steps back, and there ain't nothing we can do about that. I think that's the right lyrics. I don't know. It's very rare that I ever listen to that country song.
yeah.
But yeah, that's the future that it holds and everything. We are doing like 2 episodes a month and everything. So even though Encore is going away, again, we still have those quarterly projects that we're going to work on, as well as quick thoughts. Chris was talking about sketches, doing stuff
Yeah.
like that, or
Just stuff
doing
that's like easy
trailer
to upload
reactions. Yeah,
real quick, like
stuff
get
that
up on there.
yeah, keeping you guys up to date on all the big stuff and cinema that's going on. I definitely do enjoy this first year. It was definitely a big challenge, but it's not really the end yet because we still have Gremlins to come to come up. But I've learned an awful lot about marketing this year because your boy here's been marketing it 24/7. Even whenever I'm like on the verge of burnout. But you know what, like this is definitely a proud baby that I've been working on, and it's so glad to actually see it almost. We almost did a whole year. Well, technically we'll hit a whole year once we hit May. That'll be our full year and everything. But still, I had a great time. Especially doing the block stuff with the Halloween, Body Snatcher and At the Mountains of Madness. I definitely love doing that. Star Wars was really good, but I kind of felt like I blew myself out pretty damn early when we start reaching Return of the Jedi, and I was like, I can't stand this film. Empire Strikes Back's where it's at. That's my opinion, and everything.
I mean, also there could be points where we just do like a commentary video on. Let's get this. Oh no, I dropped stuff. But I found this at in Austin at Waterloo Records. It's the specialized versions of Star Wars, and I thought that would be a cool way to just
Is
you know.
is that what I think it is? Is that before George Lucas threw all that CGI monster?
Yes, check this
So
out.
that's the actual legit from what came out in
Yeah.
the theaters. Wow.
Yeah.
How many bones did that set you back?
Let's not talk about that.
Okay, so obviously that hurt his pocket and everything.
But we could also just do commentary on stuff like that, just old films like that.
Yeah.
Put it on Discord and just do viewing parties and throw that on there.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that and everything. So with that being said, we're gonna wrap up our holiday episode with Chris saying goodbye to everyone, as always.
Bye, everybody. It's great being here.